Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Arizona Unplugged. Once again, I am not in Arizona currently. I'm actually heading to San Diego, get some jobs done. But I got to thinking, and I want to throw this at you guys. And this is going to be, I guess, a two-part series. One we're doing now, pre-move to Arizona. And I'm going to do a part two to this, probably a year after we live in Arizona, that we're living full-time. So a little bit of background, I'm a business owner, contractor here in San Diego, got a big family, and we're fixing to retire soon, the wife and I, and move out to our off-grid homestead in Arizona. We are currently rebuilding the homestead to make it more livable. It was in very bad shape when we bought the place, but now it's much better, but still not to the point where we're going to move out there. There's just a quick synopsis or background of what's going on with us. So I want to talk about living off-grid. Now, technically, we do not live off-grid right now, but I want to get a little bit deep into this. What does it mean to be off-grid? A lot of people have different opinions on this. Some people say, well, it's where you live out in the woods and you don't have electrical lines or gas lines or sewer lines ran to your house. That's the most common definition, what people would consider living off-grid, where you're not tied in, either with hard lines, hard wires, pipes, things like that, where you're dependent on a municipality. That's kind of where I fall into as far as the definition. Other people are a bit more hardcore. They say if you have a stove that runs on propane, well, where do you get the propane? You got to go to the fuel station and fill up. Some people say if you have a cell phone and you're able to make phone calls, or you have Starlink, satellite internet, that you're tied into the grid. I understand that viewpoint, but again, it's just another opinion. I guess to be really truly off-grid, where no one can knock you, is if you just live out in the sticks with nothing, no technology. If you have no power lines, water lines, or anything, or propane, or anything to your house, but you have a truck, you're still tied in to a pre-existing structure, a fuel station, mechanic's office, or mechanic's shop. Are you still paying that bill? Are you still tied in some way? So the only true way to be truly off-grid, I guess, is living in a tent out in the woods, So anyways, I like ice in my whiskey, so I'm going to stay with some technology when we move. We have freezers and we have refrigerators already. We're already going out there. We are on solar, 100%. That's all our power comes from is solar. I do have a backup generator, but I haven't used it in years. So we're on solar. We catch our own drinking water via rainwater. We have a rainwater harvesting system set up with a pump. We do have hot water, but our water heater and our stove for cooking is propane. So some people would say, well, I'm not really off-grid. Some people say that is off-grid because I'm not hard piped in. So, who cares, right? Semantics. What is it like to live off-grid as far as my definition? Now, mind you, we still are living in San Diego County. We are on a ranch, a big horse ranch, but we're still tied in. We have electrical wires coming to the house, but that's it. We actually have solar there, so we really don't use much of the municipal electrical system, but it is there. We don't have any kind of natural gas or propane, anything like that. We are on well water, and we have septic where we're at currently. So we are tied in where we're at. But what is it like? You have to live differently when you're off the grid, whether it's, how you define it. There is still changes because you have to understand that your electricity is not unlimited. You're based on your system. So if you're on solar like us, if it's dark, you are now relying on your battery backup. Now, if you use a lot of power, like we did last time we were out in Arizona, we tried running a little radiant heater, electric oil-filled radiant heater for the workers in the shed, and it drained our batteries down to nothing, and we had nothing but electrical problems the whole time we were there because the batteries were so depleted that it was hard to get those things juiced back up. So you have to be cognizant on the amount of power that you use depending on the size of your system. Now let's talk about water. If you live in the city, you turn the faucet on, more often than not, water's going to come out, right? You flush the toilet, that tank's going to fill up. Jump into the shower, you're able to get, hot and cold water mix and nice temperature, whatever, and take a shower. When you're off grid, that's not necessarily the case. Now we have thousands and thousands and thousands of gallons of stored rainwater. The reason being is because we do not live there full time. So we're not using it more than what we're gathering, right? A lot of people say, oh, you're in Arizona, it never rains there. That is not true. We are at a very high elevation and we get monsoons every year, and then we get, scattered storms throughout the year. Arizona does rain, guys. Contrary to popular belief, we get a lot of rain, and when those monsoons hit in the spring, summer, we got literal streams running around the property. It's so much water. I forgot where I'm going. Let me think. Oh shoot, I got off wrong off ramp. Oh well, not too big of a deal. Anyways, rainwater harvesting. That's what we're on. Where we're at, the water table is so deep that it's not feasible to get it. So we are on 100% rain catchment. Yes, we do have a Berkey to filter said water to make it drinkable. Last time I was out at the homestead, I actually brought a water test kit. The rainwater that we get off of our roof is very clean. As a matter of fact, all the levels of our water were in the good range, except for the alkalinity. It was the pH level. Not that it's unhealthy, it's just that it's not what you would find, let's say, in the city or out of the ground. So our pH levels are different, which doesn't bother me at all. I can't even spell pH, so what do I care? So living off grid. So you got to watch your power intake, your water usage, whether or not you're on propane. That's another thing. You got to make sure you allocate as best you can. If you are on propane and that is what is being used to warm up your water, in a propane water heater, I highly recommend converting to a tankless propane water heater. That's what we have. The one I got was about $700, something like that. I know it's a bit pricey, but you're not constantly feeding an open flame, i.e. a pilot light, like what you have on a regular tank water heater. Your tankless water heater will only use gas when you use the hot water. It's pretty much like an Insta-Hot water heater. So once you turn on that hot tap, that's when it flames up. So you're only using gas when you use it, which is a huge savings over time. I would like to get off of propane altogether, but my system, my solar system is not large enough to do that. To heat water constantly, use it for cooking on an electric stove. That is a lot of electricity, and my system's just not big enough for it right now. So we're kind of bound by propane. So all in all, is it a burden to live off grid? For me, no. For my family, as it is now, no. But that's the reason why I wanted to make this video, because after we move to our homestead, 1 year later, I want to make another video, the part 2 to this, and give you a real time, hey, this is what it's like, this is what to expect. As of right now, for all the time we spent out at the Arizona homestead, I can safely say that we can do it without the massive amount of infrastructure that we have here in the cities. I know we can do it. It's going to be different, and you got to kind of keep an eye on things a little bit more closely. But I'm pretty confident we'll have no problem. We're kind of gearing up slowly for this. But once we jump in with both feet and make that final move, I want to make another video and let you guys know what I think, what it's like to really live off grid, according to my definition. I don't think we'll have a problem, but then again, we may hate it. I don't know. We've never done that before. The ranch I had before for 10 years, we were on municipal electric. We had propane. Our water came from a well, and we were on septic, and we had a trash truck that came by every other week to dump our dumpster full of trash. So, you know, again, I wasn't truly off grid, and I'm really looking forward to living off grid. You know, go to Off Grid the Mud Puddle here on YouTube. That's a great channel. They are living off grid for reals, and they're getting by just fine. You know, it's a great couple. Love these guys. They're my neighbors. You also have AZ Off Grid, my boy Tobin. He's also a neighbor that has an off grid homestead relatively close to me. So people are doing it, and they're enjoying it. I think it would be awesome to be solely independent. That's why I would love to get off of propane. Like I said, I only have 2 appliances that run off of it, but I would rather be solely dependent on my solar system. But again, my solar system isn't big enough. It's only 4 kW, 4 kilowatts. I want it to be at least 8 or 10, so I need at least double the size of my system before thinking about that, which I think I'll get there at some point. Probably not before we end up moving out there, so we'll have to just live with the 4 kW that we have now, which is plenty, except for running heaters. So there you go, guys. This is, again, number 1 in this series. I'll make another video. It'll be quite a while, but I want to use this as kind of a historical record. What Vaughn thinks it's going to be like living off-grid to this extent. Again, my answer is I think we'll be just fine. And by the time we make the second part of this video, the number 2, so it'll probably be in about 2 years, we'll see if my mind has changed or if it's easier than I thought or what have you. I love the country. I love being on the mountains. I love not seeing people around me all the time. You know, like right here, I'm on the freeway. There's hundreds of people driving around me at all times. I like solitude, not necessarily by myself, but just me and my family, close friends. But we'll see. I'll make a number 2 video of this. Again, this is just for me, maybe even for you guys, for a historical record about what I think living off grid is going to be like. You know, the utilities, the lack of instant power at all times, no matter what the conditions are. The ability to get water whenever I want. I mean, like I said, I have a lot of water stored up, but how fast will that deplete when our family's living there, doing laundry, doing dishes, watering gardens, watering livestock? What is our water system capacity going to be like then? Another thing is I am going to increase my water catchment exponentially here as soon as the cabin is rebuilt. That's a whole nother rainwater catchment platform I'll have in place. Right now it's just the converted barn and our power room shed. But yeah, I want to increase that. You're always, I think in this case, in our situation, we're always looking to beef up or solidify or, you know, make larger all the systems we have. Some of my neighbors have said I've gone overboard already. I don't think so. I want more than I can feasibly use, power and water-wise. I want way more than I can ever use. You know, if we get a drought, or if one of my neighbors, you know, what if their tank bursts and they have 0 water and they can't make it to town to fill up their totes? Well, come over to my place. I've got plenty. You know, and vice versa. We should all kind of look out for each other. That's another aspect about living off grid into a place like where we're going. Help is not a phone call away. You know, if you're thinking about other services, police, fire department, medical, all that stuff is a long ways away. At least an hour. at least an hour, and that's the very, very minimal services. We're not talking about big town. We're talking about really, really small town. So there you go, guys. Just a quick video to say what I think it's going to be like living off grid. I have no doubts we'll make it. No problem. I want to make it, not necessarily for me, but especially for the wife and the kids. I want to make it as an easily adjustable change in lifestyle. I don't want to jump right into it with women and kids. I've seen so many people here on YouTube with their channels. They buy a piece of property and stick a trailer on it. 2 months later, they're gone. They couldn't hack it. They were not prepared to the extent for that big lifestyle change. And it is a huge lifestyle change. Going from smooth or relatively smooth freeways to bumpy ass dirt roads for miles and miles and miles just to go get a candy bar. I mean, lifestyle, I think a lot of people jump into it prematurely. They need to learn what it's about. And even though I spent 10 years at a ranch, my own ranch, where I had my own livestock, my own gardens and orchards and greenhouses, and I had all that stuff, I am still very cautious because we are moving to a place that is even more rural, even more off-grid than what we did for 10 years. So I just want to be smart about it. I mean, I still have responsibilities here in California, still have kids here, still have my business, my wife the same. I just want to be smart about it. I want to be smart about it. I don't want to regret doing this. I don't think I will, but I just want to make it sure, especially for my wife's side of it. She lived at the ranch with me for a couple years, but not really the amount of time that I have living in the country. So we'll see what happens. Again, this is number 1 video, and I want to rewatch this in 2 years or whenever we have 1 year at the homestead, so I can see how wrong I was or see how right I was. So let me know if you guys have questions about homesteading, all the off-grid stuff. I mean, we're doing it. We're remote at this point. You know, we go to our place when we can. Right now, the weather is just so cold that it's hard to work outside. So we are doing what we can do. So there you go, guys. I'll cut the video here. I'm almost to my first job. But again, this is a 1 of 2 series, and the number 2 video won't be for quite a while. But throw your questions, comments, suggestions, or anything you have like that down in the comments box. And if you haven't done so, please consider subscribing to this channel. We're trying to build it up to spread the word about homesteading and get more people educated on that subject. So anyways, prep and drive, everyone. We'll see you.